Hello, I'm going to show you some exercises for how to make your vibrato grow and develop. The first exercise involves using a metronome. I set the metronome starting at about 40 for starting out with. I've got my finger in first position on the D string, so I'm playing a G. And I'm going to play my G and pretend like the metronome is going, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I'm strongly emphasizing each one. I'm starting it really slowly. So I'm learning to get the arm continuously moving. I'm learning to cling. I'm learning to try and relax. I'm learning to try to keep the same note. So at this point you don't want your finger to be sliding anymore. Gradually I'll move up the metronome, move it up like 3 notches and try it again. And you can just start with trying a few random notes, and then you can work into doing a scale. You can just do like 4 beats on one note before moving on to the next note of the scale. Each time 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Move to the next note. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And start out really slow. Like I said, start out at a beat of say 40, and then work your way up to, if you can reach 80, where you're doing a triplet, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or whatever 80 is. That's a really good speed, and you probably don't need to use this exercise anymore. The second exercise I'd like to talk about is scale exercises you can do for learning vibrato. First, you can start out playing a scale where you vibrate each note. I still do the vibrato very slowly, and I still think about counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 for each note. I find it really helpful to start out, take things slow. You want to keep your vibrato nice, and especially if you have old habits where you've had some other kind of vibrato and you're trying to learn a new way, a new, more relaxed way to do vibrato, you don't want to just go rushing off into a full speed vibrato right away. So starting very slowly. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So my finger's just going about that fast at a comfortable speed. You can also do this with a metronome and think about speeding it up if you want. You can either change the bow with each note, or you can change it the opposite. So you would be changing the bow in the middle of each note. So I'll try that for you. Okay, you can also do an add a note scale, which is a great combination of things. It's learning how to keep your hand in a relaxed position while doing vibrato and have that position be similar to the position that you use when you're not playing vibrato. So to do an add a note scale, you start with one note, play the next note in the same bow, and then start with the down bow again. You can even hold the last note longer if you want to work on the vibrato longer. This teaches you to get your hands able to move and still do vibrato. You might find when you're first learning vibrato that, okay, I can do vibrato, and oh, now I've forgotten how to move from one finger to another. This add a note exercise really helps with just loosening up the hand so that your fingers can still move from one note to another, and you can pause and do vibrato. This exercise number 3 for doing vibrato I call the held note vibrato exercise. You can pick any note And just play that note and think about how your whole body feels. How do my shoulders feel? How does my back feel? How am I sitting? How are my hands? Are my hands relaxed? When you get to play it a couple times, couple bow lengths slowly, and think about that, and then try to add a slow vibrato. Don't need to go fast. Whatever feels comfortable without getting out of control. And think about how you feel while you're doing the vibrato. Have you tightened anything? Have you moved anything? Do you find that when you do vibrato you have to raise your arm like this, that your head has to come down, that your shoulder has to twist? Think about that. Stop doing the vibrato and continue to play the note without vibrato. And did your body move when you stopped doing the vibrato? Did you suddenly twist or relax? This exercise is really helpful for finding ways that you're holding tension while you're doing vibrato. You can also practice with the held note vibrato. You can practice what I call the last note vibrato. And the last note of any piece, and some places when you're just pausing, you'll want to keep vibrating after the note stops. And it's another thing that you have to learn, to be able to keep the hand moving while the bow is not. It's going to feel funny at first. So I'm just playing a note. And I tried to let the note ring. I tried to keep the vibrato going after the note was done. This is a real helpful exercise too. You can even think about what pieces you're working on. What is my last note? What is my position when I'm doing that last note? And work on practicing doing vibrato on the last note, having the note ring and keeping the vibrato going. Exercise number 4 is a shifting vibrato exercise. So far we've just been walking our fingers along the string in scales. But obviously you're going to need to learn to shift. You're going to want to do a beautiful vibrato on one note and shift and not really stop the vibrato and shift to another note. So you can take any shifting exercise. You can take shifts that are in pieces that you're working on. You don't need to do a lot of shifts. You can just pick out one or two at random, or like I said, from a piece, and just work on them. So you will want to just vibrate on the one note slowly so you can really think about it. I find it still helpful to count. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'm just changing bow whenever I need to, because I'm just trying to think about the vibrating and getting from one place to another. I'm not concentrating on the bowing right now. For the last vibrato exercise I'd like to talk about vibrating in a piece that you're working on. Obviously this is going to be something that's very important to you. I find it helpful to just take things very slowly. And I might start where I'll play along in the piece where my fingers are moving with no vibrato, and I come to the note I want to vibrate on. And I actually stop, hold the note, think about vibrato, and then add the vibrato to it. Stop the vibrato, and then move on with the piece. You can start with that, and then try to play very slowly, working up to the note of the piece, and then vibrating and moving on without stopping. You can also take the piece very slowly and vibrate each note you want to vibrate, something like the swan, where you're going to want to vibrate every note. Try it really slowly with a really slow vibrato to work into it. I decided on the last note that maybe I wasn't happy with that vibrato, so I stayed on that one for a while. And you can do that. Just think about this as an exercise where you're not playing in time, but you're learning to move from note to note in a specific piece while keeping the vibrato going. And eventually you can start moving it into normal time, but it's much easier, I find, to break it down and take it slower first. And I hope these are helpful exercises. I hope that none of you are suffering and frustrated terribly with your vibrato, and that you're all progressing beautifully with your cellos.